Hey everybody, I'm Tommy, and you are on the Love Boat. Who do we got? Diane, good to see you. Sandy Wandy, what's happening? Brock Bandy, I am glad that you are here. It is Sunday night in Ecuador. Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. What's happening, my brother? It is a Sunday night in Ecuador. Come on now, don't do that. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. There you go. Anna Banana, good to see you. Glad that you are here. This is Sunday night in Ecuador, and they have just closed off the boardwalk, the Malecon, and it's going to be, it's going to get loud. Uh, I promise you it is. Leon Rose, how are you? Shannon Young, good to see you. Brock Bandy, Lisa Trimble, I'm glad you are here. I want you to do me a favor. If you have a wrench, right? Um, I'm going to talk about a subject that for some people is just going to be difficult, and it's going to be difficult for some people for the rest of their lives. And you know something? That's okay. Um, but it isn't okay to. We're not doing cruel here. I'll whack you. Uh, I'm going to explain. So last night we went live on Cults and Crims. I went live with Quibs on Cults and Crims. Didn't announce it. Krista Melinda, good to see you. How are you? Wine a little bit more. What's up? We went live unannounced. We talked about it for probably the last 6 weeks or so. And both of us had determined it probably wasn't a great idea. And last night I was like, hey, you want to do this? You want to just go live? The number of people that have reached out to me and asked us to do content again is incredible. I mean, more than the death threats and the angry comments. I had more people that just said, you know what? It's just sad because you guys were fun together. I think we'll probably do some more, but it'll be different for a lot of reasons, and I'm going to explain some of those today. And from Massachusetts, how are you? I'm crazy to think that Walt. Hello from Missouri. Good to have you here. Uh, Barbara Aldrich, how are you? I made a video called "Why I Would Never Reconcile with Reese." I'm never going to take it down. Right? I'm never going to take it down. It's something that I think that people should be able to reflect back on at a different time and listen to some of the things that I said. The word never is probably never a good call to say, right? Never say never. Um, and here's the deal. For the majority of my life, I've bullcrapped everything about who I was. And I don't mean, I just mean that I was never the person that is just the genuine me. And I stepped into one gig after another, and I think that most people do this to some degree, but mine were a little bit more extreme. Roberto, good to see you. Um, I think mine might have been a little more extreme. I became a skier, and I was surrounded by people that were a lot older than me and a lot more talented than I was. And you try to put out an image that you think those people will think is cool. How many pair of glasses do I have? About six, and none of them work anymore. I got to go and get new glasses this week. And then you get into the next group of people, and then I started hanging with bad people, criminals, and continued. Oh, that's okay. Well, thank you for letting us know. I appreciate that. Working is good, especially when you're listening to us instead. The Bee Lady, how are you? You are in the right chat. You're in the right chat. Um, I have been preaching for 4 years connection, forgiveness, redemption. Uh, what Reese, we sat down just so that we could bury the hatchet. And I don't mean sat down, we talked. Originally, there was some texts and there were some phone calls. And then one day we just sat down and I wanted we wanted to get it to the point where we were at least not, we couldn't hate each other. Even at the worst times, I said, I love this person. It's really kind of a tough thing. Tommy, glad you came on. I was running out of things to watch on YouTube. Watching, yeah, well, good. We're glad you're here. So there was a commercial once years ago, and it showed a woman that is just, she is the ideal, right, of what people say beauty is. I have a different theory on that these days. When you live in a place where people don't tell you what beauty is, it's amazing to see how other people like this or that. So it's very different. My brother just did a really good show about this, did some research and some fascinating stuff. Um, so this woman walks through the lobby of a hotel, and she's wearing a body stocking and one of those tight dresses that were popular back then. And every guy in the room kind of turns and looks like this. And she gets into the elevator and she hits the button. And when the elevator door close, she goes, ah, and her stomach pops out. She looks half pregnant. And it was a great commercial. They were selling tuna fish, I think, at the time, right? Trying to sell people on the fact that you can be thin if you ate the right stuff, which is terrifying. But we walk around sucking our gut in. We walk around, with our shoulders back. And I've never really sort of been able to relax and not pretend that I was someone else, and I didn't really know how. And parts of it come through. I mean, when I'm here, this is who I am. But when you meet people and they're next to you, and you have to actually have interaction with them. If you're a drug addict, the first defense that you learn as a drug addict is that if somebody comes to you and goes, hey, I think you're on dope, if you put a little voice, a little bass in your voice, and you go, how dare you, right? It's indignation. And the first time that you kind of bark at somebody about it, you start to train yourself, because if the person backs down and goes, hey man, I'm sorry, I promise the next person that comes to you and asks you if you're on drugs, you bark the same way, because you assume that you're going to get the same result. And it starts to become a habit that maybe you just use it if you're late, or maybe you just use it if you missed a phone call, or maybe you just, and I did this, I probably torched a couple of marriages, and I don't regret that, but, and I've said this from the beginning, I never said, my divorces were the fault of somebody else, but I never sat down and started to really go through it. I wasn't journaling through the divorces or through the marriages. So it's a memory, and it's a memory that you look back on through a lens that doesn't make sense because you don't live in it anymore. So you rewrite the history of your life in your head, not party tonight. It's not that you're making stuff up, but you're picking out the best parts of it that make you look one way or the other. And I've never asked a woman that I was with enough. Good to see you, Tommy Bird. I will explain. I've never taken the time to, and maybe it was just simply that I didn't care. And I don't mean as a human, I mean for the human. I didn't marry the right women ever. But I married them for reasons other than what the reasons you should marry somebody, right? So, but it's a terrifying concept to live your life as somebody that you're not. And if you take the time to figure out who the person that you're with is, I asked questions for the first time, right? Really asked questions, because you can say, yeah, Scientology messed Reese up. She was in a cult, right? Anyone born into a cult is going to be messed up. But if you say, tell me about it, right? How did it start? Like, what's your first memories of this stuff? You start to realize, and one of the first stories that she told me was about bull baiting. And everyone knows what bull baiting is. Somebody sits in front of you and they scream. They tell you your nose is too big. They tell you you're fat, you're ugly, you're gay, or whatever they think is going to push your buttons. They can touch you, just messing with you. When I was a public speaker, there was a guy named Warner something or other, but he started EST, E-S-T, right? And EST was this training that a guy that used to be in Scientology was selling for a lot of money, and it was on a public speaking tour. And you would see these people 2 rooms down from where I was speaking. And you walk by and you're like, what the hell's going on? There are people sitting across from people and screaming at them and just telling them they're worthless, and the idea of breaking them down or whatever. And if you're 35 or 40 years old and you want to sit down and try that for your life, knock yourself out. That's legit. There it is. That's him. Well played, Sandy Wandy. Please tell me you didn't do EST, right? And he was charging $400, right? It's $499, and they will scream at you. And if you're 35 and you want to see how that works out for you, I don't find it particularly healthy, but knock yourself out, right? You make a decision. Imagine doing it to somebody who's 4. And the first time that we had a conversation about this, she was able to tell the story. She's told it before, and I couldn't get through it. I couldn't. By the end of it, I was weeping. And she said, I got through it. It's not that bad. I wasn't weeping because of the story. I was weeping because I just became the next prick in a series of people that screamed at her. The truth of what happened with the video and all of the stuff that happened after that, it's like anything else in life. There's 2 sides to every story, but not on YouTube. On YouTube, there's 150 sides to every story, because every person gets an opinion, and they either talk about it in a chat or in someone else's chat, and just now multiply that by 85,000. And there was a lot of things said, and I've talked about this before. I said, a lot of what this is. a lot of the things that have happened were really were on me. And the more that I started looking at who I was, Reese and I fought on average probably once a day. There were times where it was 2 times a day because she would say something and it would upset me, and I'd get in my feelings and I'd raise my voice, uh, and she would withdraw because that's what she does when someone does this. She shuts down, turns the emotions off, because that's what they trained her to do, which is one of the most evil things on earth, right? This is a satanic organization. You can call it whatever the hell you want. Um, this is satanic. There's nothing more evil that I've ever seen in my life. It is a blueprint for how to take a human being and destroy them, right? They teach you things like, emotions are bad. Don't show human emotions. Can you imagine this getting a tax exemption? Right? And for a long time, people were making videos about kids being abused in Scientology. And those videos sell big time if you say it's sexual abuse in Scientology. And you would hear Reese say, I never really saw that in there. But she did. In fact, it happened to her. But see, a year out of a cult, the fact that at 14 there was a grown man banging you, that's a problem. That's not legal. That's an issue. And these were the people that had relationships. Barbara Way says, I don't know which group has the better, most likely a lifetime of emotion suppression. Hold on. I don't know which group had better handle on brainwashing, Scientology or the CIA. You know what? We'll go either way on that. But the techniques are really not that different. Because you could not connect emotionally, most likely a lifetime of emotion suppression could cause this. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not here to thump the Bible. I promise you I'm not. I'll do it quietly, and I'll do it with respect. But there was, when Reese and I were really close, my mother, who was very, very spiritual, said to me, you got to talk to her about God. And I said to Reese, I'll answer any questions you want. I'll tell you what I believe. But if you're just coming out of a cult, and I'm going to tell you about burning bushes and people rising from the dead 3 days later, both of which I believe wholeheartedly. Well, me too, Tommy Bird. I promise you, me too. But if you're listening to me, ask your partner the things that really trigger them. And don't use the word trigger. Just ask them about what happened in their childhood and talk to them about things. And I got to open up about a lot of the things that were the unvarnished, not trying to make me look good kind of stories from, ones I don't talk about on here for reasons that are deeply personal. There are things that I don't want the world mocking me for, things that I went through that I just don't want to share with the entire world, because anytime I express pain of any kind, it becomes amusement to other people, right? And obviously not you guys, but a lot of people absolutely enjoy that. There were people that mocked my dad's death. I'm certainly not going to talk to him about childhood trauma, but Reese had the exact same response that I had. She went, oh my God, I've done things that, and she, last night she talked about how she wishes she could go back and redo some of the videos we did, and they're funny as hell. But she realizes that some of the stuff that went on there made me a little uncomfortable. And it wasn't, she probably thinks it's way worse than it was. It wasn't like everything that was going on crossed lines, because it didn't. Daughter of the King, thank you. She said, I enjoyed Cults and Crims last night. Forgiveness is beautiful. Yeah. And on top of that, a redemption arc isn't a bad thing. I'll tell you straight out, the things that people have said about me aren't true. But if you knew the entire story, there are things that are way worse. I'll own that. I don't have a problem. Good to have you back. Glad that you're here. Look at that. So she's not working at work. I love that. Hopefully you don't have it on speaker. I didn't want anybody else there to hear that. But the two of us figured out who the other person is. And we, Denisha's confused. Well, I have that effect on people. Here's what it comes down to. What it comes down to is that there's nobody on earth more important to me than this woman. And that's going to be a very difficult thing for a lot of people to accept. And that's kind of an odd thing in and of itself. I would hope that if you enjoy my content, Chow Yun Smo, what a great comment. Forgiveness is great, but the healing and the growth is even better. And it's delightful to see. You may not know what's happening because there are people somebody reached out last night and said, what video are you talking about? I was like, oh my God, got to be the only person in America that didn't see it. A video popped up in my feed last night titled, I found Tommy Scoville in South America, and I laughed out loud. Never knew you were lost. Well, it's good to know that they're hunting, right? Last night was great. I get why there might be hate, but I've always loved the chemistry between you guys. Thank you. So have I. Hey, Murph, good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Here's the way I look at this. I figure there's a couple of reasons that people might watch the Lifeboat. One of which is we do a lot of stuff on people trying to get sober, and the other thing is people dig my takes on true crime and some of the other stuff. But you don't watch people you hate and like their content. That's usually pretty rare. So I would assume that the 123 people in here like me. I have spent 55 years of my life searching for something that I never found. And I looked for it in syringes, and I looked for it in straws, and I looked for it in pipes, and I looked for it in sex with people that I didn't give a crap about in alarming numbers. And I found it committing crimes. The crimes were not designed to make me feel better. They were designed to pay for drugs so that I could feel better. Drugs take away, they don't give you anything. If you're doing heroin, it's to take away pain. If you're doing cocaine, it's to take away whatever you're suffering with, right? And I've never felt like this without having to shove a needle in my arm. I mean, heroin gave me a kind of peace, and all it asked in return was my soul. It was a pretty easy exchange. It took my health, it took my body, it took my mind largely, and then it took my freedom. And I came to South America, and a lot of things changed for me because I don't live in an echo chamber. I'm not looking at billboards of painted people. Everybody around here lives a very different life. But I'll tell you something, and this is the gospel truth. I've not seen anyone raise their voice in this country since I got here. It's the true story. I've never seen it happen. And you start to realize that I was a lunatic for a long time, and doing time. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you who I am. You go to prison, and you really don't have much when you get in there. But there are a lot of people in there that are in there for some foul stuff. And I don't mean, kid touchers and all that. Those people end up on different kinds of yards. But you get people in there that are violent as hell, right? And this is one of those situations where it takes you from here to here, because if you show, you got to sort of buck up every time somebody comes at you. You come harder. And Scientology does the same thing, right? I mean, they teach that if you have a doctrine that says anybody doesn't agree with us, and you disconnect from them and never speak to them again, and do everything you can to trash them. There was quite a bit that was Scientological about the reaction of Reese to what we were going through. However, I lit the fire, right? She just threw a crap load of gasoline on it. And I'm glad that she did. And there are people here that are never going to be able to cope with that. And I get it. I'll tell you something. There are people that said things to me during this process that I'm really working on, right? But there are a lot of people that watch her channel that have reached out to me to tell me that I'm the worst piece of crap on planet Earth. And it's all good. It's your opinion, whatever, right? I tended to block a lot of the people from being on this channel. But I understand having a hard time getting over something, right? But if you dig me for something other than content, then maybe you could just be happy that I'm living in a place right now. And I don't mean Ecuador. I mean in my relationships, that this is a very solid time for me. And you haven't been watching this. People have said, I've seen this show before. I assure you, you haven't. We haven't gotten into an argument in more time than you can possibly imagine, right? We started to communicate shortly before I left for Ecuador. We started to communicate. But I didn't know who she was. Even when we started to communicate again, we were still screaming at each other. We just didn't have the ability to step away from each other. And that's kind of unhealthy. And there are people that spend a lifetime that way. But when you say to yourself, I said to her the first time we talked, I said, did you not think this was going to damage your show too? But she was trained in this, right? I was an enemy. She was going to disconnect, and she was going to light my world on fire. That's what they trained them to do. But she couldn't disconnect. And I wasn't any good at it either. And that's a hard thing to Smarter than you. You know what? It's not smart, man. Every single mistake that can be made, I made 500 times, and I got to a point where I just wanted to know why this happened the way it happened. And in the process, I asked questions, which is not something I've done with anybody. No, didn't do it with my first two wives. I asked questions that they answered. It's not like we didn't talk. I'm a talker. But in every case, the person sitting across from me was also sucking in their stomach. The person across from me was also trying to craft an image of what they thought I wanted to see. And that will blow up on you. If you pretend to be somebody that you're not for a long enough period of time, you take the anger that you should probably be, internalizing, and you put it out on the people you care about. And that's not something that's going to happen again. But for those that don't understand this, I completely understand that. I'm not even mad at you. However, at least for the moment, this is my boat, right? Unless something really bad happens, it's going to always be my boat. And I would love everybody to understand this. But if you can't, then you can respect it, right? We don't have to agree with one another on everything, but you will respect it, or I will wrench your ass. I love this woman. Sorry, that's the way it is, right? And the haters are going to go nuts, and you guys will give them views. That's how it works. And they'll tell you things like they know them, because that's how it works. But I'll tell you the most fascinating thing in the world. I've said I don't watch videos that people make about me, right? I haven't done since December 4th, the first year I started the boat. However, I watch videos people make about other people. That's shitty. And I don't mean anybody that you know, not those kind of content creators, but there are people out there that I really dislike, content creators. And there are entire genres of people that just trash them. And in America, I would get up every morning to see if somebody had made a new trash video. I don't do that anymore. I don't watch any of that crap. It's all hate, whether it's aimed at somebody you know or somebody that you don't. I don't care if you're with a person right now or you're not with a person right now or whatever, no one's going to love you more than you love yourself. You hear what I'm saying? I promise you. If this is what you think about yourself, your partner isn't going to do any better than that. So you have to sit down and give your partner or your friend or your whatever the ability to feel better about themselves. And I don't mean BSing them, but journaling is a very effective thing. But when you say it to somebody else, it is absolutely different. It really is, I promise you. In prayer every day, I repent my sins. Yes, I'm not quite perfect. I find that hard to believe. And I forgive those who sin against me. A few months of praying, and I was able to forgive Dad. I love that. You know what? I heard from someone today that said that the show that you did last night allowed me to forgive someone who has already passed. The person had triggered this guy in a fairly vicious way, and he never forgave her. But they were partners till the end. They hung out together. And he said, after watching the show last night, I realized that she never knew what triggered me, and I never told her. So when she stomped all over my feelings, and I didn't say, hey, this is what just happened. Instead, he just got quiet until she was no longer with him. But he said, I don't dislike her anymore. I feel bad. I was like, you got to get over the feel bad thing. It's a little late. But I feel bad. And I feel bad how it trickled down to other people that I cared about that got hemmed up in this. Johnny Scoville got trashed, right? Because I was a douchebag, not because he was. I promise you. And it's an ugly world sometimes, but I'm not in that ugly world anymore. There are going to be a lot of people that are making a lot of videos, and you know what? Yeah, I don't give clicks to them because number one, you're voting for someone. That's what a click is, man. Right? You're voting for them. But number two, hate destroys you, whether it's yours or somebody else's. If you park your happy ass in a world of hate, you will end up me. And I'm not living in that world anymore. And just trying to not have that anchor on me. I don't care what happens to me and Reese. No one's ever they're going to have their opinions until the very end. It's just how it works. And I'm all right with that. I made my peace at that when 9,000 people were leaving me, right? And by the way, that's just the numbers you can see. Because people still come to the boat every day. They watch a Diddy show from way back when. It shows up in their feed. They hit subscribe. I didn't know how to read those analytics until just recently. And I just said, man, I'm never going to get it. This is like treading water. I'm dying here. And I found out that there's one video in particular I got 170 subs off of, right? Doesn't look like that. But what I'm doing is trading my audience. Now, the core people, you guys leave your comments. The core people have been here the entire time. If we can't admit when we are wrong, then we cannot learn. And if we don't learn and we don't grow, as people. We become stagnant in our walks. I'll tell you something. I'm one of the all-time great dirtbags. At least I certainly lived a good chunk of my life like that. And I stopped doing the things that were putting me in prison. I didn't stop talking like a convict. I didn't start treating people like I was a convict. And maybe that should have been really obvious stuff, but it wasn't, because I just had this. I just had to make this image stick for me. I don't give a crap what any of you think about me. I'm sorry, I don't. If you want to be nasty about it, I will begin to. But I'll just remove you. I'm never going to get upset again. I'm just not. You preach love, forgiveness, positivity. You and Reese, forgiving and loving, is the walking embodiment of the words you both spread on your channels. Yeah, and both of us got to do better. I have a like I said, I didn't grow up a good person, and you guys don't know the half of it, for real. There's stuff that I just I'm never going to talk about. Where I could come on here and just do stories one after the other. There are guys that I watch do prison content who can tell you about the 550 fights they've been in prison. I don't know what prison they went to. Like, I never saw anything like that. I don't do that kind of content because I was doing everything I could in there not to fight people. I mean, there are times you got to, but I don't have those great stories where I'm burying knives in people's necks and being shot callers. That wasn't me. I just wanted to do my time and get out of there, right? But you find yourself in a world someday where you go, this is me. Right? You can like me, you can hate me, and it isn't going to change my life. But I'm not going to participate in hate anymore. I'm not. People love to send me emails and go, "You're not a Christian." You know what? Did I say I was? I followed Christ. I tend to believe the word Christian is something that gets thrown around on this planet, kind of nasty. Like, I am a follower. I am a believer. And if you don't believe that, great. Keep it to yourself around here. I'll get rid of you. You're not going to say anything about my love, and you're not going to say anything about my religion. I'll get rid of you. Hate is not something I'm going to let fester here. They can go do that over on all of those people's channels that don't like me. And you go there, trash me, do what you do. I'm not over there hunting for people anymore. I don't care. If that's who you are, it's going to eat your soul. I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. But I got the world's best lawyer, right? I'm going to heaven not because I'm a good person, folks. All those people go, well, but you're not Christ-like. Yeah, tell me who is, for real. The closest I've seen, honestly, you may not dig this. Charlie Kirk was a pretty solid guy, man. You don't think they were trying to dig dirt up on that guy from the first time he said the Republicans are right? Because they were trying. But what he talked about was biblical, whether you like him or not, man. Hey, good to see you. Glad that you're here. That would be Curry Pot? Nice, Curry Pot. Hey, Cindy G, good to see you. So people are going to bum out on us. I get that. I like the content they do there. I really do. I have fun doing it. If I didn't have fun being around this woman, do you think I could get through where I've been? But if she and I are cool with each other and you choose not to be, maybe I'll take a page out of the journal and write what the hell that's all about. Speaking of Reese, shh, we've been talking about you. I admire your ability to forgive and respect your choices. Tell me if this is what you want and need, you need to follow your gut. What a beautiful thing to say, right? What a beautiful thing to say. By the way, thank you for that super chat. It really makes a difference, and it's fun to see them occasionally. It got ugly. Tom, I'm having a huge problem that I would love to have your help in turning away from hate. You know what? Everybody needs to. Everybody needs to. And I'll tell you something. I used to do one-on-one work with every single person that said something like that. I will do shows about it. The days of me interacting with the audience sort of outside this have come to an end, which, by the way, has nothing to do with Reese. It has to do with me figuring out my abilities. I'm not joking when I say that my brain isn't where it should be. And I'm doing everything right to make sure that it doesn't get worse. But there was a time that I absolutely did not have a problem handling 5 things at once and talking to 10 different people. Now, when I do that, I will blend what you say to me into the next email. I'll blend. I tend to focus myself, and I would never. There are 2 guys I'm working with because there's no complication working with a guy. In one of the first seasons on the Love Boat, I worked with a woman that had an addiction, and we talked, and then she wandered onto one of the hate channels and sent her the T-shirt that she bought from the boat and said she said that I sent her videos of me doing things, and my response was, post it. You got a video of me doing it? I sent you that video, post it. I deleted it. Yeah. You want to go after me and hate me and you delete it. Anyway, there's complications. If I'm not good enough, if I'm not there often enough, if I don't answer every question the way they want them to be answered, the dynamic between male and female, I'll never work that in somebody trying to get sober again as long as I live. I won't. It causes problems, especially something we used to call front of the room syndrome, right? Now, I don't mean all of them. If you're toothless and sitting in a car and you haven't had a job in 4 years and you're screaming the F word every 5 minutes. But if you're talking about things that people actually relate to, they believe you're smarter, better, kinder, because you sit in front of a camera. And what you are is human. And by the time you're working with 5 and 6 people, it's never going to happen to me again. It almost destroyed my life before I ever met Reese. People like me and people like her are horrendous at setting any kind of boundaries and working within those boundaries for different reasons, right? Scientology pushed anything they wanted to do, and you had to deal with that. With me, the life that I led before, I want people to believe in me. So I was like, I'll work with you, I'll work with you, I'll work with you. That's not how it's going to work. I can't. So if you believe in me, great. If you don't, maybe enjoy the content. If those two don't work, if you go down the hall, just past the water cooler, the exit's on the left, right? And if it makes you happy and you want to treat it like an airport, go ahead and announce that you're leaving. It's all right. I don't know that helps, right? And I mean you. You're not going to hurt me. I promise you not. There's not going to be a comment. There's not going to be a video. You might have 5 months ago, right? I used to say on here, the best thing that ever happened to me was prison. Best thing that ever happened to me was the long con video. If it didn't happen, I probably wouldn't live in Ecuador. And if it didn't happen, we probably would have got together, stayed together, and I just would have ruined her life. I just would have put her through hell every single day because my go-to reactions to things that got uncomfortable were her triggers. And it's amazing when you begin to argue with somebody and your first response is, we need to sit down and talk. When you have two people that do this and then they come back and have sex, right? Or do something that is going to repair that. That's not repair. If you don't know what your partner was going through when they were 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, well, maybe sit down and figure that out. And don't just ask events. Ask him what it felt like. Ask him what it sounded like, right? Reese had an amazing ability to talk with me about some things from my past and ask questions to put me back in the scene and things that I hadn't worked through in my entire life. And I've hinted on them here on the boat before. And the Love Boat, Tommy, if I mentioned you on our channel, I was timed out. I'm staying over here with the forgiveness people who spread the love. I think you might find a different reaction to that now, B-Lady. It's one guy's opinion, but there was a period of time there where I was smacking people out of here pretty quickly for things. If you do what we do for a living, and 40 or 50% of your income disappears overnight, and I was just about to hit 30K, right? And I quickly got down to the 23 and 24,000 range, which is like, holy crap. I mean, you just watched every time I got up, I was 500 people less. And I got really emotional about that. And then I started coming on here and dealing with people and dealing with issues through emotion. And I got news for you. That doesn't work. The reason we journal is because we want to turn off the emotional part of our brain and kick on the executive. Thank you for the support too, B-Lady. I appreciate the super chat. It's beautiful to see. Kick on the executive part of your brain and turn off the emotional part of your brain. And I can preach that with the best of them. What I can't do is do it. And that kind of became, a real issue. It's amazing to have a problem and sit down to try to talk about it and have the person across from you go, well, what are we going to do? Wow, that's pretty cool. It's my problem. It's not your problem. We're going to do it. And I guess people have been doing this for centuries. But I slept with half the New York phone directory trying to figure out if there was somebody out there that had this, this key or this whatever the hell it is. I honestly didn't believe it existed. People throw around words like soulmate or weird things like that. Honestly, I don't know what any of that means. I don't. But I know that I'm not going to be without this woman. I am very, very happy. And I hope everybody is happy for me. And if you're not, I can still love you. But we're not gonna say things that are ugly on this channel. And guess what? I'm not even gonna say them about the people that hate me. I used to take a decent amount of laugh out of that, right? Thank you again, B Lady. It's not a bad question. What business is it of who you love? Well, it isn't, but here's this. I could very easily get mad at people and go, and say, how dare those people think they got any right to say any of these things or weigh in on stuff or tell me their opinion. I gave you guys that right. I gave it to you. I emailed back and forth with every single person that emailed to me. I took phone calls. I talked on. I let myself. I opened myself to say, come on in here and check out my life. And when you do that, you're opening up people to say, well, you're making a mistake. Let me tell you how. My content is going to continue. How I do it is going to probably stay the same. I don't do things that I used to. Tommy Bird says, I certainly do know what soulmate means. I thank the Lord for letting me know mine. I need to do more often. Yeah, you know something? Shannon Young, well, that's great. You'll get a chance to meet her. You should head over to Cults and Crims. We have a hell of a story. It's a very long and winding road. Why, thank you, Wendy R. I love that. So I kind of made it people's business. This time around, I'm not going to. I get 15 emails a day from people that ask if Reese came to Ecuador. If you see her wearing an Ecuador shirt, we joked about it last night. I'll joke about stuff to the end of time, but there are going to be things that I'm willing to joke about. Was she here? I don't know. If you see her in an Ecuador shirt, she probably was. But if she wasn't, assume she was, because if that's the catalyst that's going to run you away, then run away, right? And if the catalyst that's going to run you away is that I marry her, assume I did, and because I'm not going to live my life for 24,000 people anymore. And you know what's worse? The idea that you might live it for the 6 people that have 1,000 or 2,000 subs each and make nothing all day long but hate content about me and my family and the people that I love. Knock yourself out. I don't know who those people are anymore. I don't watch them. I haven't seen any of that stuff. And honestly, I'm not being disrespectful, but it's sad to me, right? What this channel has done in the last 4 years, whether you believe in me or you don't believe in me, we've had a lot of people that really have gotten a lot out of this. And it isn't. I'm not tooting my own horn. It's that when you talk about substances and you're open and honest about it, you and Reese both know that you have a travel agent available. I love it. Thank you. Well, if we do decide that she's going to be coming down to Ecuador, then we'll look into that. How's my boy? No, it's not inappropriate at all. Spanx Calhoun will be. You'll see him on the boat probably in November, probably mid-November. He's been working really, really hard. He is I don't know what the right word is. It's like a rickshaw, but it's not a rickshaw. He goes down to the stadium and it's all like he's a roadie, but he goes and does these things where the stadium is so far from the parking that you pick people up and work back and forth and drop people off. And it's he made like $890 last night. He's killing it. Occasionally a little inappropriate ain't so bad. And she'd be the first to laugh at that. But he's going to come down. He's going to come see me, and he wants to do some content. We've been talking. I talk to Spanky often. Yeah, he's doing great. In fact, I don't know that he's ever been doing better. Anyone who has the ability to look inward, be self-aware, and ask questions, and open to listen and grow are worth knowing and loving. Yeah, but I'll tell you something else. Leaving the echo chamber was amazing. Leaving the U.S., we've gotten to a point in that country where, Johnny talked about this, and he did a better job than I'm gonna, because I'm just going to touch on this quickly. But what you do and look at every single day will program you. I mean, it will. And, from the time we were about 14, gay men in New York started telling us what women should look like. And you come to a place where there aren't, that they're not programming into you. This is the car you should drive if you're cool. This is like all of this stuff you have to have in order to be accepted. When that leaves your life, and a lot of that, again, has to do with, I've bought some really stupid cars in my life. And I didn't buy them because I thought, boy, it would be fun to drive this. I bought it because I would think, No, Johnny's all right. Johnny's asthmatic, so that's kind of a common thing. Sticks and stones, people. Sticks and stones. You know, the problem is that we started to skip the sticks and stones, right? Um, and people start getting into some really ugly things that have nothing to do with name calling. Right? You know, they skip the name calling and get right to the sticks and stones, and then they go past that into some ugly stuff. But when you leave that environment, you know, we have billboards here. They're big and they're digital, but they don't. You don't see pictures of women on there. You don't see pictures of guys. Or a guy in a car with a woman who's in the car, and the look on her face says, "I'm going to bang you because you own this Corvette." It may seem insignificant, but when you see 50 million images of that by the time you're 35, someone has decided what you ought to buy, what you ought to wear, what you ought to, you know, who you should find attractive. It's a really ugly thing, right? It's a really, really ugly thing. And it's beautiful to see a country that doesn't have body issues. It's beautiful to see a country where everybody isn't in therapy. You know, the concepts are so foreign in other countries. You know, when you say, yeah, well, you know, half of the place, you know, half of America is in therapy. 80% of Americans use drugs. Like these are terrifying statistics, and people do this one. You know, they do the brown lab thing and kind of turn their head this way. I've learned a great deal about addiction. Can you do a show on alcoholism? Yeah, there's actually a buttload of them that I've already done, but I'm probably due. I'd be more than happy to do a show on that, Wendy R. Absolutely. In fact, look for it in the next 3 or 4 days. How would that be? I absolutely will do it. People bring ARs to fistfights these days. It reminds me of the end of the first Friday movie. You know what? They really do, and it's just ugly. You know, it really is. It's just ugly. But good for you, DNV. Hey, by the way, I'm not bad mouthing therapy. It's the greatest thing on earth. But the environment that we live in, you know, we will watch hate all day long. And I don't mean on me, but just we like watching somebody crash. We like a downfall. And when you're watching that all day long and you're grooving to that, it's eating your soul alive. You know how many people, honestly, if they just watched content that was uplifting, if they just, and I'm not saying I am, but there's a buttload of it out there. There's some incredible people out there. You and Johnny are awesome. Love both your channels. Dave, what a great thing to say. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to talk about alcoholism. It's the one drug that every 50 states has legal, right? So it's probably a big deal. And although it is not the gateway drug that it used to be, you know, now the gateway drugs are pills. Most people find them in their parents' medicine chest. You know, if you don't throw out drugs, lock them up. Trixie says, I can't watch that crap anymore. Tommy puts me in a crap mood. Need to steer clear of that crap these days. I'll tell you something. It doesn't. There's studies done on this, right? This stuff affects water. You can go and watch what happens when you put hate in front of water while it freezes. It's fascinating. But if you don't believe that this stuff resonates and starts to eat at you, I mean, then keep looking at it. But I think that there are a lot of people that would just be doing a heck of a lot better if maybe they did everything within their power to look at things that weren't hateful. So if this doesn't make sense to you, right? If the fact that everything that I said tonight upsets you, we can be friends again. This isn't a video I'll be doing every day, and you can work on that. But if you come in here and tell me why she's a bad pick or why I'm making a mistake or, you know, any of that stuff, I don't have time for it here, man. I don't. One of the coolest things in the world is this is the only place on earth that I can control hate. This is the only place in the world where I can say, I'm not having this here. This is my house, right? And as much as this is the crew, this is my boat. And not for nothing, I've worked my butt off to build it. So it's not going to become a place of hate. It's never going to happen, man. Yeah, you know what? You and a lot of other people said I didn't have the right house, didn't have the right clothes until high school. Imagine living in a place where nobody cared about that. You know, I think preschool would have helped me with social skills, but I began school at kindergarten. I learned all the things, but I don't really remember first grade, though. Acceptance was closed. Well, and this is And after clothes, it became something else. And then after that, it became the car. And after that, it became the better job. And after that, it became the house with the pool. And we just continue to do this because we believe that happiness can be bought. You know, if you just have enough money, or you just have enough cocaine, or you just sleep with enough people, or you just have enough people that hit like, or if you just have enough clicks, and none of that's going to make you happy. At the end of the day, you're going to crawl into bed alone, or if you're lucky, you crawl in with somebody that's beautiful, that you love and you trust. That would be great, right? But either way, you're going to walk through this without all those clicks. These are people that you're not going to meet in person, right? But this literally affects people. There are now shrinks that only work with people who are suffering from social media disorders. You hear that? Social media disorders. And I'll tell you what, YouTube's how I make a living. But if you're spending 5 hours a day on it, it's probably not a healthy thing. I said something about South Korea once, and they said that their number one health problem is video gaming and social media problems as a number one mental health problem in the country. And someone wrote to me and said, yeah, but it's South Korea. South Korea has the 5th biggest economy on the planet. It may not be a real big country, but it is a productive country. And they're going to start losing that. And they know it. They're trying to get out in front of it. Why do you think our birth rates are as low as they've ever been? Because we don't talk to one another anymore. You know, boys and girls can't talk to each other. You're not going to have kids if you can't talk to each other. I feel like I dodged that bullet, right? And then it started chasing me ever since. But I'm not here to tell you I got it all figured out, because I don't. But I got my mate figured out, right? I do. And it's going to bum a lot of you out. I'm going to watch some subscriber numbers drop, and I'm going to get more hate mail, but I ain't going to read it. So knock yourself out, right? For real. I'm just, and you know what the worst is? The worst isn't even the hate emails. The worst ones are the ones that write to you condescending as hell and tell you to just be careful. You know, I'm just trying to, I don't need anybody to tell me to be careful, right? I got through Lewisburg Penitentiary, right? And I got through the long con video. And you know what? You can throw crap at me, but what it did to the people that I cared about, right? Friends and family, that's what was, that was tough. But I got through that. So if you want to hate me for who I love, I'm going to get through that. I promise you, especially with a newfound peace that I don't think you can imagine unless you can. Sometimes referred to the peace that passes all understanding. You know what, Barbara Wade? What a kind thing to say. I would be so sad if you couldn't talk about somebody who brings you joy, Tommy. You know what? Here's the thing. Even still, this isn't the content I do. I will probably come on and do some content. She certainly will come up. Wow. The religion thing makes me think of something I got reprimanded for working at Catholic school. I found a young Indigenous girl in tears outside, so I sat down on the ground to comfort her. I don't know, but that's a great thing to get in trouble for. You know what I mean? If you're going to get in trouble for something, boy, that beats the crap out of showing up for work drunk, right? Or yelling at a student. If you're going to get in trouble for going outside and acting like a human being with a heart, I'll go out like that. I'd love to tell people that's why I got fired. That's a beautiful thing. And don't let people beat beauty out of you, right? Beauty is a choice. I promise. That it has nothing to do with what you look like, right? If you're being beautiful, it's because you chose to be beautiful. I think Puff is probably going to leave in the next 7 days, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a video tomorrow. It's probably going to be in the morning. I'm going to do a morning video. It's not going to be long, but I'm going to tell everybody that wants to look how you can check to see if Diddy is already shipped out, and you can. You've done the drunk work thing too. Yeah, I have too. Yeah. Well, we're all flawed people, right? The ones who see you as a flawed person still accept you as the ones who really care. All of us are flawed people, right? I'm getting into heaven because I got a really good lawyer who died to take care of that. I'm going to get there and he's going to say he's with me. I'm not a good person. I'm trying. I'm working my butt off at being a whole lot better a person. But I've never come on here and done a show where I said, I'm a really good person. Let me tell you why. In fact, I think the very first thing I ever said on this channel, I might have to go back and check, but I'm almost sure I started with, I'm not a good person. I'm not. And I didn't want to come here and start trying to be Tony Robbins and tell you that I'm perfect or any of those things. I'm not. I'm flawed to beat shit. But I don't do heroin. You can read any videos you want. I'm not banging smack, right? I'm not out doing drugs and the things that destroyed me, man, right? And I'm happy. I'm happy, right? I'm gonna die in bed with my boots off. Hopefully next to a person that has figured me out and been kind enough to help me in ways that I didn't think would ever happen. So I'm hoping that everybody can accept that. I can think of a few people off the top of my head that might not. But if you're worried about me and who I love, I bet you're not spending enough time worried about you and who you love. P. Diddy is one of many goons. Now look at the NBA. Yeah, you know, that story, though, in the NBA, from all the research I can do, the guys that are, yeah, and there are some bad stories, but the gambling story with the feds, they're going to tell you that there's a bunch of athletes whose names keep coming up in this. The names come up because it's a gambling scandal. So when an athlete gets hurt, the trainers or whoever, and I'm not blaming the trainers, but people, this is how it normally goes down. A trainer or somebody that works in the home office finds out that that person isn't playing in a game. And if you're LeBron James and you're not playing in the next game, then the point spread is off like a big dog. And if you know 2 players are out, you can load up 10 grand on the other team. And if your 2 best players are out, you're probably not going to win. That's what the scandal's about. So they're listing these athletes in there, not as people that were gambling. They're listing these athletes in there as because these were the players who weren't playing that night. And there are going to be people who say, well, maybe he took the night off. To make what? The dude's a billionaire, right? He's going to take the night off to get paid. The guy that leaked the information, according to the file, was paid $2,000 for leaking the information. We're not talking about suitcases full of money. It would look good in the movie, but it's $2 grand. Simba Court and Rylus, that's the, did you catch that? Reckitt and Bensinger. It's a kind thing to say. Speak of the devil. And I do mean devil. So glad to see you're both able to work through and forgive each other. I will have to go over and watch Colts and Crimson since I didn't know you were on yesterday. Your growth is made. Thank you, Jan. That's very cool. Rapid Hailer. I will go over, you'll see us again on Colts and Crimson. I promise you, that wasn't the only show we're going to do there because I dig it. One of the things that first drew me to Reese is she makes me laugh hysterically. And not for nothing, but I spent most of my time growing up making other people laugh, except maybe my brother. Hey, Toronto, Canada, good to see you, Guru. This is, I would spend a lot of time making people laugh. Reese makes me laugh. And if you don't think laughter is the best medicine, you really ought to try more of it. For real. What's that? Johnny Scoville says it's a lot better with a woman. There really is something to that. Chat disappearing? Back out and come back in.
No, the chat's missing the chat.
Oh.
We all miss more chat.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're all missing. I got you. Well, we have a lot of fun doing it. And I'll tell you what, for both of us last night.
No, maybe she is missing. She was saying anyone else?
Reese's, our pasts are different. And because of that, there are things that, like I was a public speaker, but I promise you, Reese's ability to be comfortable is different than mine. And that a lot of that comes from her past too. That, you know, when you scream at somebody who's 4 years old, they learn to look comfortable when they're not. And I don't know what it felt like to her last night, but for me, probably because of how, you know, it went afterwards. For me, it was like walking into Fenway Park, you know, as Bill Buckner, after letting Mookie Wilson's ball go between your legs and blowing off the World Series. Right, that's a tough stadium to walk back into. But you know what? We had a lot of love from that last night. I expected there to be a ton of hate, and there wasn't. And I'm impressed by that. I really am. It's not what I expected. But I view life differently. I'm telling you, if you didn't see the show that my brother did on Chase the Heat, he did it about an hour ago. You really ought to check it out. These are concepts that people should. And I've talked about it, some of them occasionally. You know, the experiment they did with rats, except Johnny went considerably deeper into it. it's fascinating that we let the world tell us who we ought to be. So I love you guys, and I love coming on here and doing this show. But no one is ever going to tell me anymore how I ought to be. Well, one person can, right? Because $9.99 will buy you that, Reese. All right, people. And I'll tell you something. This isn't a comfortable show to do for a lot of reasons. I don't want to hurt anybody on the boat. I really don't. But I spent a lot of time worried about hurting people on the boat and not worrying enough about the people that I wanted, in my life permanently. And I didn't spend enough time worried about me. I journaled, I did all these things, but I did the same things and let the same frustrations build up so I could work my ass off to stay normal. If you get rid of all those frustrations and continue to journal, you start getting back to the stuff that makes you an idiot. And I was doing that in prison with Q. I was doing it every day, and then I got out. I still journaled. I still did everything, but I didn't have my guru. And amazingly, it turns out that very often a guru is somebody that just listens to you and asks the right questions, right? We can all be a guru, but you're not going to be a guru for yourself. And if you think you are, you're probably wrong. Thank you, B Lady. I appreciate that. The negativity and hate don't pay off. It doesn't pay off at all. Even if you're hating people that hate you, hate is a cancer. And if that doesn't make sense to you, try giving it up for 2 weeks. Stop looking at it, stop listening to it, stop participating in it. It's amazing what kindness and love and joy can do instead of, greed, arrogance, hate, all the stuff that gets packaged up on the other side of that equation. So I absolutely, I'm not apologizing. I'm not. I'm apologizing to the people that got hurt in the past. But there's no apologies going forward. If my lifestyle is uncomfortable for you, down the hallway, past the water cooler on the left, you'll find the exit. I don't want anyone to exit. I really don't. I think what we have here is pretty cool, but most assuredly, I'm going to live the rest of my life so that I remain as happy as I am today. I hope everybody can groove to that. I know Johnny Scoville gets it. All right, between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor. Put a little love in your heart, and I'd avoid some hate. And I don't mean mine. If you really, if you want to go and see what these people are saying, I'm not losing friends over that. But you might want to journal, find out what it does to your soul. You might want to feel like what you feel like when it's over. Because, people will say to me, well, I go over there, I just want to make sure that, I was watching hate because they were talking about this person and I know them. And they just go, what? And did you feel good when it was over? No, I was mad about what they said. That's what they want you to do, because anger will get you back, right? You're pissed off, you're definitely going to go back and watch the next one. It's a business model. And you ever see somebody troll someone that's got 15 subs? No, those people are perfect. It's when you start getting to 10 to 20,000 subs that they start going after you, because if they can piss off your audience, you're going to pick some off. All those people that you didn't treat exactly how they wanted to be treated, they can pick those people off. Then they'll go over there and just get into the troll culture. And it's amazing, because I've had people come back to me in the last couple of days before we even did that show who said to me, man, I've been making a lot of mistakes, and talking about, they were hanging with this stuff. It eats your soul. It eats your soul. Thank you, Shannon Young. I appreciate that. There were no strangers on the boat. We don't let that go down. So between now and the next time I see you, put a little love in your heart. I hope you're happy for me and for my girl. If you're not, I get it. But I'll ask you to keep it to yourself until you find out you're happy. And for all of you who are going, this ain't going to last 2 weeks, I'm giving odds. Right? I'm taking bets and giving odds. I'm Tommy. Put a little love in your heart. I'll see you on the next one. Have a good evening. Good night, everybody. Love you.